Are you tired of looking at unattractive plastic or metal baby gates for years on end? Well, stay tuned and I'll show you how I made a custom wood gate to match the existing railing in this home. I am making this gate out of 4/4 poplar wood and start by breaking down parts to rough size. We're going to have everything broken down to rough length and ripped down to a width that's manageable on my 6-inch joiner. So now I'm going to take everything over and run one face through the joiner to get that nice and flat, and those can be glued together so I can get a full 1-inch thickness on my stock. Okay, have everything surfaced. I'm getting ready to do a glue up. I'm going to put glue on, sandwich those together, same here. I'm going to smash all these together and clamp them at once. I'm pretty limited in how many clamps I have, so in order to try to save time, we're going to try to glue all these at once by just putting glue between the faces that we want. At this point, all the parts have been through the jointer to be flattened on one face and then squared up on one edge. Right now they're about 1 3/8. Since I laminated 2 boards together, I'm going to try to take roughly equal thickness off of each side. So if that glue line is visible, then it's at least in the center of the board. Now I'll take them over to the planer and take them down to final thickness, which is going to be 1 1/4 inches. I'm now ready to start cutting parts to length. For that, I'm going to be using the crosscut sled here at the table saw. The vertical parts of the frame and the balusters are all the same length at 23 inches. So I'm going to make one setup and cut them all to length at the same time. The jointed edge is nice and square and flat, so that's what I'll reference against the back of my fence. I'll first cut off one end to square that up, slide that square end against my stop block, and cut the other end to final length. The next step in the build is to cut everything to final width. The parts that make up the frame are going to be cut to 2 inches wide, and the rest of the stock is going to be cut to 1 1/4 inches, which is the same as the thickness, so they'll be 1 1/4 inches square, which will create the 9 balusters needed for this gate. With all the parts cut, I can now focus on joinery. The gate frame and balusters will all be joined using floating tenons. I first mark the location of each mortise on the frame and the end of each baluster. Tenons will fit into mortises cut using a jig that I built using plans purchased from Philip Morley. This method gives a nice strong joint and also results in perfect alignment of the balusters with the frame. The gate frame and balusters are going to be finished in different colors, so I will pre-finish everything before gluing it up. However, before I can move on to finishing, I need to make a few parts to mount the gate. I've cut these 4 blocks. These are going to be the brackets that hold the gate on. I'm going to mount the gate, the hinge side of the gate, onto the newel post. I first need to cut mortises in 2 of the blocks for the Sauce 204 invisible hinges that I am using. I'll drill holes on each end of the bracket and then put a carriage bolt through, and that will clamp around the newel post. That'll allow me to secure the gate without putting any permanent hardware into the current woodwork. The last step on these brackets will be to put a quick round over in all the edges and ease up any of the sharp corners. Hinge mortises are now cut into the gate frame using the same template for these Sauce 204 hinges. Because of how the stairs are configured, I'll be attaching this blocking to the wall to get away far enough from the railing so that when the gate's installed, it can swing open without being obstructed. Finally, a recess is routed for the latch and a strike plate, and I can move on to finishing. I now have all the parts sanded and ready to finish. The frame of the gate and the brackets are going to be stained a custom color match from Sherwin-Williams that matches the existing home's woodwork. The balusters will be getting painted white also to match the current trim in the house. The balusters got a coat of primer followed by 2 coats of top coat, sanding between each coat. I'm finishing all the stained parts with lacquer. I'm just using a spray can of lacquer from any home store. The reason I'm doing that is using a polyurethane or a shellac could amber the finish a little bit. And since this is a stain match to existing cabinets, I didn't want to change the color at all. Also, a benefit to this is it dries super quick, so you can do multiple coats in a short amount of time. I am using a white Scotch-Brite pad just to buff the parts lightly, knock down any dust nibs, and that'll result in a nice smooth finish. I did tape off my mortises here since that's where I'm relying on my glue strength in those joints, so I didn't want to put lacquer in there and prevent the glue from adhering properly. So I taped those off, and then I'll just spray right over everything. At this point, all the finishing is done. The paint came out really nice, really happy with the stain, and now I'm ready to glue everything up. For the glue up, I'll simply be using Titebond glue in the mortise and tenon joinery. I'll apply glue to the mortises, spread it around with a brush, and then put the tenons in and assemble everything and clamp it up. I chickened out and I'm applying glue to the tenons as well. I think sometimes as woodworkers we overdo things, and this is one example. Probably use too much glue, or more glue than we need to, probably use more clamping pressure than we need to. But I want to make sure everything sticks together. A couple of final things while the glue's drying. I'll install the strike plate here on this block for the gate latch. And then on these brackets that I'm going to clamp around the newel post, I just bought a box of scrap leather off Amazon and cut out some rectangles. I'll glue these on the inside of these brackets to give it a little padding so it doesn't mar the woodwork on the newel post when I clamp those on. With that, everything is complete and ready for install. I start by bolting the brackets to the post. I then align the latch block with the gate and secure it to the wall. The latch had to be mounted lower than I anticipated, as the railing bracket prevented me from installing the block as high as I planned. Other than that, everything fit perfectly and works really well. The latch I used has a button on the bottom to open it and a decoy knob on the front to make it harder for a young kid to figure out how to open it. Thank you for watching this build, and please stay tuned for more projects like this.